Making avatars for VRChat is mostly about having knowledge in Unity and Blender, and most of us learn through YouTube videos. However, those videos only cover avatar creation as a general guide, so I've had to learn some things only through trial and error, and now I want to share these tips with you. Here's 14 more things about avatar creation I wish I knew sooner. Number 1. Body sliders in Unity. Do you like to add boob and butt scaling to your avatar? You can do that by creating blend shapes, which is the standard method, but another way is to literally scale the bone under the armature for the animation. You could potentially experience some clipping, so keep an eye out for that, but if you don't get any clipping, then you save time by avoiding making the blend shapes in Blender. Number 2. Parent constraints. Okay, I know it seems like I'm a Blender hater now, but I'm not. Some people do really hate Blender though, and if you do, you can add items into Unity using parent constraints. Technically, you could just drag it onto the bone under the armature, but for a cleaner setup of your model, you can drag a mesh onto your avatar and create a parent constraint on that mesh. Then you just add the bone you want to attach it to, apply it, and you're done. But just keep in mind it's not Quest compatible. Number 3. Dressing tools. Booth models will take it a step further by adding clothes using dressing tools. You can buy models like Rindo or Celestia, which come fully set up, but if you wanted more clothing options, Booth has individual outfits that you can purchase that are pre-rigged and ready to go for that model. If it says it can be installed using dressing tools, it's as easy as importing the model into your project, clicking the tab at the top, you drag the avatar into the empty slot and hit test. Once you hit test, if everything looks good, you apply it. Now your Booth model has a new outfit. You could technically try this with any outfit that's rigged to a certain base, but you might get unexpected results. Number 4. Bad data transfers. Sometimes when you do a data transfer, the legs are too close together and you get the pant leg on the right leg weight painted to the left leg and vice versa. The easiest way to fix this, to my knowledge, is to go into pose mode. You can spread the legs of the avatar, go into weight paint mode, and you can see where these are connected incorrectly. Click on the little green triangle and then scroll until you see left leg and right leg. You'll see the leg mostly red, with the broken parts that are not red. All of it needs to be red. And then switch to the other leg and then remove the red from that one. Number 5, Pumpkin can transfer materials. Okay, since I've made the last video, I've been told like 10-15 times that you can actually transfer the materials with Pumpkin. They're hidden under the Skinned Mesh Renderers tab. Expand that and then you select materials. You guys have made Pumpkin so much more useful for me, so thank you. This just goes to show that you'll still learn things no matter how much knowledge you have on avatar creation. Number 6, index hands. Tired of your ugly Quest hands? The gesture controller that's standard is supposed to make you look like you're holding your controllers, but it really just gives you claw hands. The index hands is a free gesture controller that imitates index hands. It slowly closes your hands, so they move more naturally when you're switching gestures. The gestures also just copy the index hands, so if someone's not looking at you closely, they may think you actually have index controllers. Number 7, Liltoon presets. For those who use Liltoon as their main shader, or people who are just tired of Puyomi, did you know that Liltoon makes presets? At the top of the material, you'll find the word preset. You can select things like skin, hair, clothing, metal, and more. And Liltoon will choose the best settings, and you'll get the desired effect without you having to understand things like rim lighting. Number 8, culling and normals. Sometimes when you put clothing on your avatar, the inside is invisible. This is because there's only normals on the outside. This can be fixed by scrolling all the way down to your shader if you're using Puyomi and expanding the rendering section. Keep in mind this only appears normal when shaders are shown, so if you have a shirt that has the normals flipped or just looks incorrect, setting this to off would fix it when the shaders are shown, but when they're hidden, your boobs would just be showing to everyone. To fix that one, you'd have to go back into Blender and duplicate the mesh in edit mode and then flip the normals. Number 9, Av3 Creator. Do you know how to make toggles but you're tired of making them? You could have an avatar with 15 plus simple toggles and that could take ages. You could save time with Av3 Creator. For $10, it can do simple toggles, dissolve toggles, blend shape toggles, material swap, a hue shift if you have the supporter version, and more. There is a free one that's similar on VRC Arena called vrchat Toggle Assistant, but I personally haven't tried it, so I can't speak for it. Keep in mind you shouldn't use this if you don't know how to do toggles because it's still important to learn. It's just using something like this will save you a lot of time. Number 10 is Phys bones are in my Discord server. I got this idea from another Discord server who eventually deleted that text channel. They had listed settings for every kind of possible Phys bone. When they deleted it, I was left with no idea how to make them. I did eventually find new settings myself, and now I want them to be accessible to everyone. So you can find the ones that I've come up with in the Phys bone setting text channel of my Discord server. Number 11, change colors with hue shift. Have you ever purchased an outfit and its color is just slightly off what you were wanting, but you're not really good at Photoshop, so you just learn to deal with it? If you enable color adjust, assuming you have Poyomi, and then check hue shift, you can drag that slider over until you get the color that you're looking for. Number 12, avoid weird green clothes on Quest. This is more of a niche issue as this doesn't happen that often, but when it does, sometimes you'll convert an avatar to Quest and your black clothes will turn green. This can be fixed in Blender, but I don't really understand how to be honest. But to fix it in Unity, shoot, maybe I do hate Blender. To fix it in Unity, you can set the Quest shader to standard light and enable the emission. Set the base texture as the emission as well, and then set the emission color to white. It may make the avatar look strange in dark areas, but we'll call this a workaround instead of a fix. Number 13, Armature listed in Modifiers. This isn't a crazy tip or anything, but after doing a data transfer, you might notice that in pose mode, the new clothes still won't move, even though you just did it. This is likely because you need to add the Armature modifier. Go to the wrench at the bottom right, add a modifier, and select Armature. Click on the eyedropper and select your body. Now your clothes will move. Fix Model does add it for you, but just don't ever use Fix Model. Just don't do it. You'll regret it. Just don't do it. Number 14, Prefab Errors. Prefab errors are easy to understand if you understand them as a whole. Typically, in my experience, they happen because you have something incompatible in your project. If you know everything is supposed to work together, it's likely that something is just outdated or you're missing a script that's required for the project. You can expand the console and hide everything but the red errors. If you're missing a required dependency, you might see you're trying to replace or create a prefab blah 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 that references a missing script. This is not allowed. It could be that fancy sword you just added requires something that you didn't read the instructions and you forgot to add. Or maybe the avatar that you downloaded uses the old dynamic bone system and you don't have that package in your project. I found this old Reddit post that goes into more detail on prefab errors and what you can do to resolve the issue. I also want to mention the tips from the comments in the last video. You guys know what's up, and you provided the exact kind of tips this series needs. When making metals, Chris C1140 says you can use a cube map instead of the default skybox when you're making metal. For better optimization, Unknown Squid commented that you should use the shared root bone when you're adding Phys bones. This means putting it on the hair root bone instead of the bones inside of that bone, assuming your hair has that bone already. A law friend stated that if you need to fix something simple in Blender, you may be able to overwrite the old FBX in File Explorer, and it'll replace it perfectly without having to switch it to humanoid again. That wraps up the avatar tips I wanted to share with you today. Keep in mind these aren't intended to be actual tutorials, but rather a nod to help you become aware of these things rather than being forced to figure it out yourself. If you have something you want to share with the group, feel free to comment below. Bye, babes! I'm realizing that since I have eye tracking now, you can tell that I'm reading from a script.